So there's two objectives with my video today. In this one, I'm going to tell you about Boolean operators and some keyword searching strategies. But then we're also going to go in and do some text mining in a database, looking for concepts and ideas about when there was dates of things that might affect your topic and how to do that. So first of all, with the Boolean operators. In a database that you go into, there's usually millions of records. A record is each represented here in these stars. You can see if it helps to go to full screen, go ahead. Each star would be like the perfect scholarly article or the perfect newspaper article that told it from both points of view and it was just absolutely perfect. The reality, though, is to find those things in a database where they're putting in tens of thousands of articles every day, like the database we're about to look in, how do you narrow those things down when you're only just stabbing through with keywords? Well, let me show you a concept related to keyword searching. When you first put in a single keyword, say for the example, environmental, which is a really good one. It's got a lot of jargon with it, and it means a lot of things to different people. What that means when you put that in a database search is you've got this circle that's narrowing down and it's eliminating all of these other articles that don't have an example of the word environmental in them. So when you do that, you're just narrowing it down to, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30,000 articles instead of the million of articles. When you want to narrow that down even further, and sometimes it's okay to just throw in environmental, but we don't want environmental policy. We want something more specific. When you add another keyword, you put the word A-N-D, and then whatever your second keyword is, and what that will mean is you're doing another search, and where they overlap in between is the beauty of the Boolean operator. Sometimes you have to put it in uppercase A-N-D, sometimes you don't. I just put it in that way, just so it works in some databases. So let's go back over and test this out. So the database we're looking at today is only one of the sample for doing text mining. It's called US News Stream. So research databases from the library homepage. The letter U, and we're going to scroll down until we get to this one, US News Stream. This is most of the newspapers in the United States, if you can believe that. There's, I think, something on the order of like 10,000 articles that will be published here every single day. So this is a great way to get that cultural zeitgeist. So let's do our search. Whoop, wait a minute, I was doing environmental. Environmental. How many do you guess we get? So this is newspapers from the last 20 years. I'm going to guess 30,000. Oh, 4 million. Gosh, okay, so that's untenable. We have too much there. So let's narrow it down further. So we want an instance of the word environmental, and we want an instance of the word disaster. Wow. Oh, so environmental award. Yeah, let's narrow it down even further. So it's overlapping those two key terms. Ooh, 185,000. That's much more sustainable to look at. When you're doing text mining, we're not necessarily looking at the articles themselves. And each of these, by the way, if you clicked on them, would send you to a newspaper article from some time that would have an instance of your two keywords, environmental in one place and disaster ostensibly in the other one. I'm not sure where it is in this one. And you can look at the full text of local newspapers as well. But the main thing that I was going to show you today is that if you've done a search out on the open web and you're heading towards the databases, you want to know if you've covered all your bases. And so when I'm looking for environmental disasters, especially in the United States in this database, you can go down the facets on the left-hand side and you can see what dates things have appeared. Now, I like to narrow it down to this current century. And if you mouse over the dates, you can see that that starts on this block right here. So I'm going to move this up and update. So we're only looking at environmental disaster showing up in newspapers in the last 17 years. Didn't narrow it down that dramatically, did it? But all of a sudden you can see there is a little bit of a trend, but then there's this huge spike in 2010. I don't know what happened in 2010, but I'm guessing that that's the Fukushima nuclear disaster. But you can discover trends this way. Another thing that you should be aware of is when you go down to subject, you can start to see trends in what people have been reporting on. So Oil spills, that's always a popular environmental disaster. But if you click on more options, this is a number of times that something has showed up. This is the topic of the article and how many times it showed up. So what you can do when you're doing your research is figure out when I'm doing this one particular topic, and you really could search for anything under the sun, any number of keywords. You can say, okay, so I'm looking for disasters and how those are managed in public policy or something like that. And you can see, well, climate change, oil spills, let's see what else we have, floods. I wonder if it was the Gulf of Mexico oil industry disaster that happened there. Offshore drilling, I bet that's what the big spike in 2010 was. Hard to tell, you might have to look at it. Some of these colleges and universities aren't necessarily an environmental disaster, but they might be people who are actively searching for solutions to such. Natural gas. So you can see, you can use this as a guide for looking at subjects on your topic and see if you've covered all of those bases before you go into the scholarship.